Hello, everyone. It's Andy. Welcome to Stackin It Up, a series of tech transformation talks that focus on the people, technology, and stories behind real-world digital transformation. Today, we have on John Pace, PhD, who is the lead data scientist at Mark III. Thanks for joining us, John.
Oh, thank you, Andy. I appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. Well, let's lead it off a little bit, and can you tell the audience a little bit about your background? I know you have a really unique story about how you got here, what you worked on in the past from a data science perspective, and some of your background within your PhD program, and also in the technology industry, and how you ended up as a data scientist here. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about that background?
Yeah, sure. So my actual bachelor's degree is in biology. When I came out, I ended up in the IT world back in 1993, as it was just kind of coming online. After about 12 years in IT, mainly as a programmer, something called computational biology started coming around because all of a sudden we had the computational power to do things, and genome sequences were just, finally being done, and so analysis needed to be done on it. So I went back to graduate school and started a program in quantitative biology, which is a big way to say mathematically and statistically based biology. Started studying something called transposable elements, which is about half of all of our DNA, responsible for a lot of different diseases and cancers and other stuff. And there was really not much going on computationally on these DNA sequences. So it was pretty much wide open. I went to school at the University of Texas at Arlington, and we had this amazing HPC cluster at the time in 2005. There were 50 nodes that each had two one-core Intel processors in them with 4 gigs of RAM, which at the time was massive. Your laptop probably has more than that right now, and had full access to it. So I was able to do a lot of work very quickly on, ended up focusing on 19 different genomes, looking at the evolution of their transposable elements, and then actually being able to develop some new statistical tests to be able to test whether the things that we were finding were significant or not. Again, this was a wide open field. Yeah, a lot of published papers and very proud of it. A lot of new stuff came along, and yeah, it was very interesting. And so that sort of evolved into, over time. I graduated in 2008, and at that point there was no such thing as data scientist. You were a programmer, or you were a statistician, or you were a bioinformatician. I don't know if that's how you say that exactly, but you did bioinformatics. And then around 5 years ago or so, the data scientist actually became a real term and something you could do where you could combine all of those. And I'd been at Mark III already, and you were kind of driving this initiative for data science, and it was a perfect move into it, and have been able to do some really, really cool projects since then.
No, absolutely. And it's kind of an amazing time, as we all know, to kind of be in the industry. All these forces are coming together. Data is finally really readily available for the first time. Open source has driven a lot of these tools and methodologies to the forefront and democratized it. So a really amazing time to be involved in all the areas that you pointed out: healthcare, genomics, life sciences, a lot of the segments that are directly associated with that. So yeah, your genomics research sounds really interesting. Can you talk a little bit more about maybe your favorite piece of research that you put out there? I know if you search Google, actually, you'll find references to some articles about you and some of the research you've done years ago, which I think is pretty amazing. And then also, not only, your favorite piece of research maybe that you worked on in the past, but how does that experience play into how you work with a lot of large healthcare institutions, academic medical centers, life sciences companies that we work with today?
Okay, so there were two pieces of, two papers that I wrote that I was really super excited about. One was it was about the transfer of DNA between animals and humans, or between other animals, which had been hypothesized for a long time, but nobody had ever actually shown that it happened. And about 3 o'clock in the morning one night, I couldn't sleep, and I was working on some data sets, and I found this. and was able to prove that this actually happened. And it's really started kind of a revolution in the study of evolution of DNA. So that was really neat. And in fact, that got tenure from my professor that I was working for, that one paper. The other one was something that I found kind of by accident as well, which was where when your DNA is being replicated, as new cells are being formed, little pieces of DNA were copied into other places where they shouldn't be. We call that capturing DNA. So, you have a piece somewhere on a chromosome, and it actually got duplicated somewhere else, which can cause some major problems. It can insert within a gene, which then can cause cancer or various other things. It can start new processes that shouldn't be happening, and in certain cases, it can actually be beneficial. So the really cool thing about those was that they were completely unexpected. These were things that I was working on other stuff, and then I don't know if you say by accident or random chance or whatever, I actually came across these. And I think, that really applies to healthcare and really any type of big data, in that a lot of times you don't even know what you're looking for. The data sets are so massive, and it's hard to even ask the right question. And so as you're digging through your data, as you're trying to figure out what it is you're trying to solve, a lot of times you can come across things you didn't even know were important. But that once you find them, they can revolutionize the things that you're doing, whether it's cancer research or drug discovery. Any of those things this can apply to.
Awesome. So I know learning the skills required for data science is a really critical part, I think, of what healthcare organizations out there are looking for. I know that you've actually created some data science and deep learning related workshops to teach folks, both within the context of being a certified instructor in the NVIDIA DLI workshop program, but also you've created some of your own original workshops to more accurately, I think, and more precisely address what a lot of our partner organizations are kind of looking for. Can you tell viewers a little bit about what these workshops are, who they might benefit, who should attend, and also, a little bit about how they can participate in one if there's interest?
Sure. So with the workshops that I've done, as you mentioned, I'm a certified NVIDIA DLI instructor for the fundamentals of deep learning for computer vision. As far as healthcare goes, computer vision is right at the top. You can go to conferences, well-known conferences, and they've got whole tracks on nothing but computer vision. The leading pathologists, the leading radiologists in the entire world are there speaking about how AI is revolutionizing what they're doing. In fact, there's whole conferences on that. So I teach a lot on computer vision. One of the other ones is on what we call multi-data types. So combining things like computer vision with other types of deep learning, such as recurrent neural networks. So you can do, say, image captioning of videos. So combining all those things together. And I think that's one of the things that's interesting with teaching these workshops is you really get to take a lot of different information and combine it together. So, a customer may be looking at, or a healthcare institution may be looking at a certain thing, but when you bring in the other thing that you're teaching about, so maybe they're looking at computer vision, but you bring in recurrent neural networks, they didn't even know that those could go together. But then they get this aha moment, and they're like, oh, wow, this could solve a problem that we've been thinking about, but we didn't know how to do it. That's really cool to see that aha moment with customers. And then as far as workshops that I've created, some of these have been on computer vision. And I created one that I think is very interesting in that we have a 2-hour version, a 4-hour version, and an 8-hour version, depending on what people are looking for. So we can do, a real quick overview to everything, to a full one-day course, 8 hours, where we really go into a lot of depth about, how the neural networks work. And I've had a chance to teach that to a bunch of different groups. We've had some customers come in who were in geophysics, and they were very interested in computer vision. We've had healthcare institutions that I've taught this at. In fact, one workshop that I did was for high school students, of all things, at a university here in Texas, where these were kids that were learning data science. They were learning deep learning, and so I was able to go in and teach them fundamentals of computer vision along the way. So, and then other things, there's been some workshops that I've done, sort of classical machine learning, such as, predictive models, linear regression, classification, random forest, XGBoost. So really kind of the whole gamut of what's available and what people can use in their businesses. So I really like it. It's a lot of fun, and it's neat to interact with the people and, like I said, see that aha moment where they realize that this stuff can really be used for them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, like a lot of these workshops are titled deep learning, but you brought up a really good point about how machine learning is also extremely critical, using accelerated methods in today's world. So there are just so many different approaches, like talk about a lot, 10,000 different ways to do the same thing. It feels like out here. So understanding sort of the builder centric and data science is a big part of that methodology on how you do things and how you source methods is super important. No matter what you're really doing in today's world. Real quick, last question. What are some of the interesting things that you're actually working on today in healthcare, life sciences, relative to AI, machine learning, deep learning, in partnerships with some of the institutions? I know we work with a lot of different organizations really across the entire spectrum of care, from healthcare systems to research institutes, to life sciences companies, to academic medical centers, to pharmaceutical companies. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about maybe some of the most interesting things that you're working on now and that you might be thinking about in partnership with these folks in the future?
Sure. So one of them is with a cancer institute at a university where we're helping them with image segmentation. So they're looking at cells that are coming, pictures are being taken with microscopes, and they're trying to figure out, are these cells in a shape where they could potentially be cancerous? Or you take the shape of a cell, you apply a certain drug to it, and then you see how it changes. So is the drug effective? That's one that we've worked on that's been very cool because it's got a huge practical implication, right? Cancer is a huge thing. Some of the others are involving other types of computer vision, reading X-rays. Another thing that is a little bit different, but I think is really interesting, is helping healthcare institutions speed up what they're doing. Using things like GPUs and accelerated computing to solve their problems. I'll give you one example. A customer that I was dealing with, or that I work with every week, we sold them a high-powered workstation that has 4 GPUs in it, and previously they had been running models on their laptops, which is not uncommon. And they were taking, I think they said it was taking 152 minutes to run, something as simple as a random forest classifier. They moved it over to the GPU on the workstation, and they got it down to 23 minutes or something like that. So just an enormous speed up, which, it's all about time, right? How much can you do in a certain amount of time? And with the resources that are available, why not use them? So I really love to help customers with, accelerating things, because in healthcare, that's what it's all about, right? These are people's lives. The faster we can accelerate that, the better. So, whether it's, hospitals or drug discovery or any of that, it's pretty fascinating.
Absolutely. And it gets more and more interesting as we move forward. So lots of interesting things to work on in the future. So John,
Yes.
Thank you for your time today. Before we sign off, can you tell the viewers a little bit about maybe how they can reach you directly if they have any questions?
Yeah, sure. So probably the easiest way is to email me. It's john.pace@mark.iiicis. I also am very active on social media. I have a blog that's www.ironmanjohn.com. Also on Twitter, my handle is @pacejohn. Feel free to contact me anyway. Oh, also LinkedIn. Of course, we're all on LinkedIn. So any of those ways you want to contact me, I'm more than happy to help. I love to talk about this stuff. So yeah, contact me and let's get a conversation going.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. See you guys next time.
Thanks, Andy.